Take a breath, Oxford United fans, after that one, and welcome to another review of this Oxford United season. Today, after a little bit of a break from Oxford having so many internationals, their game was called off against Cheltenham. We were away at Peterborough United, and when you're celebrating winning throw-ins, when you're celebrating your goalkeeper catching the ball in the last minute, when you're celebrating any time the ball goes out of play or any time a player goes down injured, it kind of shows you where Oxford United are. And again, it just epitomises what a shocking run we have been on. But Oxford got something today. Oxford got something against the Peterborough side, and I don't think many people were expecting Oxford to get anything from this visit to London Road. It wasn't a win, but it is a draw, and it is the first clean sheet of 2023. Not going to be a game that lives long in the memory, but it ended Peterborough United 0. Oxford United 0. So Liam Manning starts his Oxford United tenure with 2 draws, and if Morecambe felt like a defeat, this one probably feels a little bit like a win. It doesn't mean we're safe, but it is a point that Oxford United did not expect. And I know Peterborough fans, you'll be out there bemoaning, 1, your own lack of cutting edge, and 2, Oxford's kind of time-wasting tactics, which were in evidence in that second half. I'm not complaining about that, of course. But Oxford battled for this. Oxford scrapped for this. Oxford fought for this. And I think Oxford deserved something from this game. But we'll get into all of that. I'll go over the game. I will give my player ratings and I'll give my final thoughts at the end. There are time codes down below and on the video itself. So you can jump to any particular point if you want to. That's absolutely fine. But if you do, then please hit that like button because that helps me out so much. And if you want to subscribe, then that also helps me out as I march towards 600 subscribers. Let's try and get it to 600 by the end of April. That will be fantastic. So let's run over the team news. Oxford United obviously had a free week last week, so there was a lot of interest and intrigue from myself about how Liam Manning was going to set this side up and all the training that he talked about. Was it going to pay off? Well, Oxford lined up 4-3-3, but I think it was more like a 4-2-3-1 with McGuane and Brannigan just kind of holding, and then in front of him you had Marcus Brown, Yannick Wildschut and Josh Murphy. The much maligned Josh Murphy back in the starting lineup with Kyle Joseph up front, which meant Austin Smith and Gatlin O'Donkor were relegated to the bench. To Oxford, when you look at the bench as well, you could see how limited with the number of players that we have out injured, but we did have Tyler Smith back on the bench. Peterborough United played a 4-2-3-1 and the POSH, they did start the day outside of the playoffs, but that point did end up taking them into the playoffs at the end of the day, although that probably won't be a lot of consolation for them because they probably would have expected to win this game. And since they've had that shock 3-0 defeat to Cheltenham, they bounced back with impressive 3 wins in a row, including a good win against Derby, who are flatlining, quite frankly, last time out. Only one change to Darren Ferguson's side, with Edwards coming in at the back instead of Knight. Very, very good player, Edwards. They're already talking about Premier League clubs coming in for him. But usually when you talk about Peterborough, all the talk is about Johnson Clarke-Harris. He is lethal up front, and I think he is the league's leading goal scorer. And so quite rightly, he does get a lot of the plaudits. But that does do a disservice to the other players, the likes of Kent, Taylor, Ward, who are also having fine seasons. Darren Ferguson, you have to make a joke, don't you? Back for his, I don't know, what is it, 9th or 10th spell in charge of Peterborough. He'll probably take them up. They'll probably go to the Championship, fire him, and end up coming back down. Let's move on to the match review. Not really much to say about this game, is there? Peterborough, and certainly in the first 20 minutes, not much to say at all. Peterborough were the side in this game more in the ascendancy, but Oxford, whilst they did sit off and let Peterborough have the ball, they did look so much more solid than what we've seen for Oxford, certainly under Carl Robinson. That is such a big improvement since Liam Manning's come in. They don't look so frantic, they do look more measured. Peterborough didn't really test Simon Eastwood much at all. The first and probably the closest they came actually in the game was this really, really good effort from Norburn, Wonderful volley, must have been like 25, 30 yards out, caught it really sweetly, and luckily for Oxford, where in recent weeks those have flown into the corner, or in Eastwood's case, bottom corner, this one flew wide of the goal. Oxford did grow into the game a little bit in the first half, and there were little flickerings of where they might cause Peterborough some problems, but not sustained enough, and we didn't really get the likes of Murphy, we didn't get the likes of Brown, we didn't get the likes of Wiltshire, probably Wiltshire more than anybody, and Joseph into the game enough to really cause that many threats to the Peterborough goal. There was a good free kick from Marcus Brown, which flashed across the goal, which no one could just get a touch on, but really good delivery. And then Oxford's best chance of the game themselves came when Oxford did get a little breakaway in midfield. Marcus Brown played the ball into Yannick Wiltshire. He got forward. His shot was well saved by Norris, but really Yannick should be scoring that. It wasn't a great shot from him, although Norris did make a decent save. Key moment at the end of the first half was Brannigan's block on a Ward shot, which ended up going out for a corner. But that kind of epitomised the effort that Oxford were putting into it. They were really putting their bodies on the line to try and keep this clean sheet, to try and get something out of the game. And that really was what Oxford can really take out of this game. And it was encouraging to see. It was 0-0 at half-time. Not a great game at all. But from an Oxford United's point of view, that's absolutely fine. That's not a bad thing at all. Out of possession is where Oxford have made some good strides so far under Liam Manning. We do look a harder side to break down. You don't see players over-committing, leaving space for other players. But POSH are a good side, and they looked at their most dangerous when they were getting the ball down the flanks. The likes of Ward, Mason Clark, Thompson and Ogbeta looked really good when they did get in those wide areas, and that was where they did look the most dangerous, but they just didn't get the service into Clarke-Harris through a combination of poor crosses and good defending by the Oxford centre-back pair. Brown and Long certainly had a tough time in that first half, but they stuck at it well, and I think overall they had a good game. Again, glimmers from Oxford going forward, but not much. Second half, as it went on, it became more about attack against defence, really. Oxford were just sitting deeper and deeper the more the half went on. But again, Peterborough weren't exactly creating chance after chance. It's not as if Eastwood was called upon to make many saves at all. I can't actually think of any that he made other than just simple claims and a couple of claims from corners, a couple of long shots which were straight at him. There were some efforts that were wayward, like I can think of a Clarke-Harris overhead kick and a shot from Poku who came off the bench which went way wide. But Peterborough's best chances really came from when Oxford were sloppy in possession and maybe gave the ball away, so they were like counter-attacking from the second phase, second ball in midfield. But again, Oxford stood firm and Oxford stood up to it, and the game, you felt nervous because, you know, any point that we could get was absolutely key. But I'm sure from a neutral's point of view, you're watching it and you're kind of thinking this game just felt like it was going to be 0-0. But Peterborough did push and push. They got some corners. They got some free kicks in dangerous areas. There was a good header from Kieran Brown from underneath his own crossbar. It's probably the only time Eastwood kind of got caught out of position. It looked like a ball was going to loop over him, but Brown got back well to head it nearly off the line. I don't think he was quite on the line. But then there was one breakaway from Oxford where Oxford did win the ball in midfield and the ball went out to Wiltshire and he played in Marcus Brown, but Marcus Brown was clearly offside as he did put the ball in the back of the net. But let's claim it anyway. No, we can't do that. It ended 0-0 despite there being 8 minutes of added on time. So you can complain, Peterborough, about our time wasting, but you did get a heck of a chunk of injury time and you didn't make anything pay from it. The game, when you, again, as I say, when you're celebrating 0-0 draws, when you're celebrating clearances, when you're celebrating throw-ins that go in our favour, offside calls, Eastwood claiming a cat, when you're genuinely fist pumping those moments, it just epitomises where we are. It epitomises how bad we have been. And it is 12 games without a win, but it's still a good point. And let's move on to some player ratings, and let's start with the man who kept his first clean sheet in absolutely ages. Fantastic for Simon Eastwood, and I'm going to give him an 8. He didn't do much, but he kept a clean sheet, and that is so good for Simon Eastwood. Sam Long gets a 7. I thought he had a tough time this afternoon up against Ogbeta and Mason Clark, but again, he didn't get a huge amount of help from Murphy, but he did stick to the task, and he still, committed as ever. Won some good challenges, won some good headers. 7 out of 10. The same from Brown. Didn't think he had a good first half. Made some mistakes early on in the game, but stuck to the task. His threats were from Ward, from Thompson the other way. But again, he did a good job. Won his headers, won his challenges. Solid in what he needed to do. Never lets you down, does he? 7 out of 10 for Kieran Brown. But the centre-back pairings, they both get a higher grade. I thought Stuart Finley was immense today. Probably his best game in an Oxford shirt. 8 out of 10. Won absolutely everything. Handled Johnson Clarke-Harris really well and was just a solid defender, the type of defender we were promised at the start of the season. But Elliot Moore as well gets an 8 out of 10. A brilliant performance from Elliot Moore. I thought he was really good today. Just like Finley, he won all his headers. There was a couple of times where players were running at him and he made really good challenges as well. And I just thought overall a real good leader's performance, a captain's performance from Elliot Moore. Probably Oxford's man of the match, I would say. 8 out of 10 for Elliot Moore. Brannigan also gets an 8, playing in that deeper role, but I thought he was superb. He worked absolutely tirelessly. It's a shame we couldn't get him on the ball more, because you know how good of a passer he could be to try and get those switches of play. But defensively, superb. Made so many good blocks, so many good challenges, and just, worked as hard as you would expect Brannigan to do. 8 out of 10. McGuane just a shade lower, which is probably unfair, but I just thought Brannigan stood out more. McGuane still did a really good job, and his hold-up play in particular, he's very calm on the ball. He doesn't rush. Like, he's not just going to be a guy that's going to thrash the ball forward. He'll always try and keep Oxford in possession, which is very much appreciated. He gets a 7 out of 10. Marcus Brown gets a 7 as well. Wasn't that good going forward, but his effort and his work rate was really good all the way through the game. You can see that Liam Manning is kind of bringing out the best, and you've seen some good performances consistently now since Carl Robinson has gone, and Marcus Brown just seems to be getting better, and again, at both ends of the pitch, he's quite influential now. Good performance again, and a 7 out of 10. But Josh Murphy is the one that gets a 5. We just expect so much more from Josh Murphy. It's nice to see him on the pitch earning his wage for once, but I felt he just drifted out of this game the more it went on. And he was also non-existent in that second half. And he's a guy you just, like, in a game where it's tight and Oxford's attacking options are limited, he's a guy you want to be able to give the ball to and him to make something happen, and we just don't see it. 5 out of 10. Yannick gets a 7. I thought Yannick was our brightest spark in the first half from an attacking point of view. He's so ungainly, and he is just literally a bulldozer, but he's effective. And good cross in the first half as well, which nearly a couple of good times he got in. Should have scored. But generally, the good things that Oxford did going forward, he was involved in it. And I did think he did a good job getting back, making challenges, making a nuisance of himself. So he gets a 7. Kyle Joseph gets a 6. Good work rate again from Joseph. Worked hard, put a great shift in. But I just don't think he did that much to influence the game from an attacking point of view. No chances for him to really score. Again, work rate great, quality not great. 6 out of 10 for Joseph. Ossian Smith came on for Murphy after 65 minutes. He gets a 7. He looks very impressive when he comes on. Again, like what I said about McGuane, he's just very calm on the ball. He doesn't look like he's going to be panicked. Wants to keep Oxford in possession, which is really good. Strong lad as well. I'm worried about him giving away penalties then. He could have given away a penalty at the end of the Morecambe game. Could have given away one here. Just being too handsy in the box. Keep your hands by your side, Smith. But impressive again. 7 out of 10. Probably unlucky not to start the game. Gatling O'Donkor came on after 83 minutes. So too short of a time to rate Gatlin. And Brandon Fleming, remember him? He came on after 93 minutes. Again, too short a time to rate Brandon Fleming. But let's go to the gaffer, Liam Manning. And I'm giving him a solid 7 out of 10. And you can't help but be impressed with the way he's made this Oxford United side more solid in a short space of time. We just look like we've got a better defensive shape, which we haven't had maybe for 2 years now, maybe even longer. We just look a lot more organised, and hopefully now he's maybe got that side of it done a bit better, we can look a bit more offensively potent, and as we still try to scramble some points. 2 games, 2 draws, 1 disappointing, 1 against Morecambe, good one here, and the clean sheet as well. So 7 out of 10 for Liam Manning. And that brings me to my final thoughts, and generally encouraged, very encouraged by this today. I think most of us, certainly myself, I'll speak for myself and not the collective Oxford United community. I didn't think we'd get anything from this game. I thought we would lose to a very good Peterborough side, but I think we held them well, and we didn't just hold them, we limited them to very little chances, and that was impressive to see. It was nervy and it was very tense, but is any game not going to be now? We're in such a precarious position. You just have to be happy with any point. And the effort and the work rate that the guys put in today was really good. Everybody to a man put a heck of a shift in. And I'm hoping that now we've got that blueprint for how to be more solid in place, that's now going to bleed into the side being becoming more confident and becoming a little bit more adventurous, and hopefully we are going to start to create a few more chances. Wednesday game now is tough on Good Friday, but with them in not good form, it does look like we might be able to get something from that game before we do move on to Port Vale, which really is a game we should be going to try and get the win. From a Peterborough point of view, what can you say? Well, I mean, we've had these games before when we've been challenging for playoffs, where you come up against a side that's just solid. They're going to make it a shitty game. They're going to make it hard to beat. Very unusual for Oxford to be that kind of side, but we were today. And Peterborough just didn't really just struggle to break us down, struggle to create some chances. It's very much unlike them, and they'll definitely think it's 2 points dropped, but you know that is not the norm for them, and they'll just be worried in the back of my mind. Peterborough fans, let me know. You'll be worried because you do kind of hit a good run of form, and then you have that little weird game in there, the game that you should win, you end up losing or dropping points in, like Cheltenham and now with us at home, which just keeps you, rather than kicking on and cementing a playoff place, it just keeps you kind of in the fringes and dropping out. But let me know what you thought of the game today. Let me know what you thought of your team. Of course, you're going to be slagging off Oxford for making the game shit. We know we made the game shit, but that's all right. You slag us off away. That's fine. But I'm interested to know your thoughts, and I'm interested to know the thoughts of the Oxford United fans out there as well. It's a very good point. We can all look forward now to the game on Sky against Sheffield Wednesday. It's going to be a big crowd at the Kassam, and maybe it'll be lucky 13 for Oxford United, and that is the game where we get our win. Not really too much more to say about this one. Let's enjoy our Saturday evening, Oxford United fans. It keeps us 3 points above Accrington. Cambridge are the side who closed the gap a little bit, but 3 points to Accrington, which is effectively 4, with our goal difference being so much better. Let's enjoy it. We'll move on to Good Friday and see what we can get against Wednesday. But again, hit like, hit subscribe, leave your comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.